Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Tonight, I have Johnny Toms of the band Van Winkle and the Spirits. Johnny, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Great. Ready to talk about all things bourbon and music. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've come to the right place. I'm always up for that. Always up for that. And we'll get into that. We'll get to know you a bit, get to know about the band and your music, and we'll drink a little whiskey along the way. But before we do that, I want to tell everybody about the Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who produce content for the whiskey enthusiast. We have shows like Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. They talk with distillers from across the country and around the world about anything and everything distillation. Alan also has a show, One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, where if you're a distiller, maybe you distill in your backyard, maybe you distill for a living, you can ask him any question you want, and he'll post video responses to that question. Alan has so much time on his hands, he has a third show called If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. This steers a little bit away from the whiskey world and gets into the supernatural, the paranormal, the spiritual. You name it, he's going to talk about it, and it's usually a whole lot of fun with some great stories and fantastic guests. My Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike and Mitch comes on live every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. My Whiskey Den is where craft whiskey is king. They have great guests, wonderful tastings, and it's always fun to hang out with the good folks in the chat. Whiskey in My Wedding Ring is the most recent member of the Bar Cart Co-op. That's with David Levine. David was actually a guest on this show last week, so if you missed that show, you can pop back in and listen to it. He's a really smart guy, probably smarter than any of the rest of us. And he's a lot of fun. He knows his stuff. He's a great writer. He has some wonderful guests from the whiskey world. So check all of that out. And as for our show, you can watch us on YouTube. If you're watching right now, please hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on fantastic shows like this one. We are also on your favorite podcast platform, as long as it's Apple, Spotify, and Google. So, Johnny, welcome to Bourbon Turntable.
Hey, does that distiller, like I know some distillers in Eastern Kentucky, but they're in the hills and the hollers. Do you interview those kind of people?
Yes. Yes.
I'm just saying, I know some distillers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've not turned anybody down yet. So
okay. I was just checking, making sure.
Yep. Well, we'll trade some names after the show. How about that? But glad that you're here. And
hey, thank you for having me.
I guess let's get this out of the way first.
Okay.
The name of the band, Van Winkle and the Spirits, clearly has some bourbon undertones to it. How did you come up with that name for the band?
All right. So big fan of the story, Rip Van Winkle, as a kid growing up. And then I just always loved the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night I was at my uncle's house, and he had, you can correct me on this, the ages, what is it, the 15,
there's a 10, 12, 15.
Yeah, he had all of them.
Yep. Okay.
And so we're sitting there looking, and I looked at the logo, and we had just been formed and all this, and I start thinking, well, then I call a buddy of mine, and I said, what about Van Winkle? And he was like, well, what about Van Winkle and the Spirits? So ta-da!
There you go. All right.
And, but I will say I was a big fan of Rip Van Winkle, the story. And then it's just like I looked at the logo and it just popped. And of course, I'm always thinking of merchandise. And, well, that would look cool on a shirt.
Yeah.
And then being from Kentucky and all things bourbon, you kind of hit a market there. And
sure.
Me thinking of merchandising and all that.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about.
Yeah. Well, that's what the cover of the first album is.
That's the first album. Now, the gentleman who did that, super great human being, Gary Williams, who has since passed in the past year. He did that graphic. Uh, Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
And
gorgeous.
he sent me the picture, and of course we were like, could you put some shrooms on there? And he's sent it back 10 minutes later,
Yeah.
and that's what you got right there. And he is he was a phenomenal artist, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And actually, somebody asked me that shirt. We had a shirt with that logo on it,
Hmm.
and they were like, "I need the old." We called it the hippie logo
Yeah.
because they said it was me. Uh, and I'm I'm like, we have a lot of requests for that shirt, and we don't have any anymore. So I'm like, well, I think I need to get some of that shirt. But yeah, that was the first. That was the first album.
Yeah. Well, this is, I think it's just awesome. I mean, it fits. It's got the old Rip Van Winkle look to it. It's got the ghosts in the background. It's got a bottle of moonshine. It's got the guitar. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, he hit a home run on that one, and rest his soul.
Mhm.
He was a phenomenal artist, and he was a good one.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit about your background, your personal background. Are you a Kentucky native?
Oh yeah, I grew up. Oh Lord, okay, Klebiot, Kentucky. Now, if you blink,
Now you're making that up.
no, I'm not. CHALYBEATE. It looks like Chally Beat.
Okay.
And that way, if anybody says, "Are you from Cleveland?" And it used to be called Klebiot Springs. And if you get on our Facebook or whatever,
Yeah.
our guitar player David passed through there and took a picture. And he says, "Whoever can pronounce this, I know you're from there." So I grew up in Klebiot, and my father, actually my father, my grandfather, my great grandfather, both my uncles, and my cousin are all Southern Baptist preachers.
Hmm.
So as you can tell, I'm proof positive the apple can fall far from the tree and roll down the hill and get into a moonshine still. No, I'm kidding, but no, but yeah, my whole family. I grew up singing. I cut my teeth on a church pew,
Yeah.
and but I grew up in Cleveland, Kentucky. Moved to Portland, Tennessee for a year. My dad
Okay.
pastored a church there. Moved back, and then we moved to Bowling Green. But home is Klebiot, Kentucky, and that
Cleveland,
is
Kentucky.
CHALYBEATE, and it looks like Chally Beat. And no, they don't have any red lights.
Oh wow. Well, that's great. Now, so you said you cut your teeth on a church pew.
Yeah.
Is that where you first started getting into music?
Oh yeah. I was in a studio at 9 years old with my dad. My dad, he was with a gospel quartet,
Hmm.
and I have umpteen of their albums over there. And then he went solo, but he was at Hilltop Studio in Nashville, and I was that.
Wow.
I think I was 9, um, recording, and he spent most of his life on the road. And that's, you know, I grew up immersed in Southern gospel,
Hmm.
and I try to, I when I sang with Dad, Dad was like, "I don't bring it every time you sing. I don't care if it's for 1, 10, 100,
Hmm.
1,000, or 10,000. Sing with everything you got." So that's kind of how I grew up. I grew up singing Southern gospel.
Yeah. I did too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's been a long, long time since I've really sang much of anything. But when I was in high school, I was in a gospel trio.
Really?
Yeah, yep.
To be honest, I, you're true. I can tell you, I've been with Kim Green. Well, I knew her as Kim Green, but she's Kim Hopper, or the Hoppers, and
Hmm.
the Tallies, and but all of my powerhouse singers were all Southern gospel singers, and There's something about them.
Yep.
They don't have, you got people sitting there waiting for you to sing. They're not milling around or doing whatever. And so that's how I grew up, and
Yeah.
it's how I sing now.
No, you make a good point there. If you're singing in church, there's an expectation from the people that are in the congregation
Mm-hmm.
that you've got to bring it. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you mess up, you miss something, everybody's going to know. Whereas
Yes.
if you're singing in a bar, uh, there's conversations going on, people are drinking, they may not pick up on the fact that, well, you screwed that whole verse up. Uh, so there's an
Yeah.
expectation of really hitting it right off the get-go if you're singing in church. And a lot of people
Yeah.
get their start there because it's thought of as kind of being a safe place to get on stage for the first time and play your guitar or play piano or keys or whatever. And I've had a lot of people as guests on this show that's where they cut their teeth in the music world.
Yeah. And I tell you what, you could tell me that I'm going to be, knock on wood and Lord willing, playing the Ryman.
Mm-hmm.
But I would suffice to say, I would be more nervous if you told me I'm going to sing in front of 100 people at a small church, because my great uncle taught singing schools in this area,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to know your stuff. Like, you can't
Right.
go in there and
Right.
him haul around and you got a bunch of people, drinking, and they're like, oh, that's good. No, like, you got to know your stuff because they're expecting a certain
Right.
product.
Right.
And that's actually I sang at a dear friend's funeral last year, and I was more nervous about that. And it's
Yep.
songs that I had been singing for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked out on that stage and I looked back over at David, guitar
Mm-hmm.
player, and Jen, who plays dobro with us. And I said, I don't know if I've been this nervous in years.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a certain expectation, and I think it brings out the best in you. And Lord knows that it helped me.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, you can tell that background's there, and
well, thank
even it comes through because there is a soulfulness to your voice, most definitely.
you. Well, thank you.
And even and we'll get into a little, maybe not hit every song, but we'll talk about a lot of the songs on the first
Sure,
album.
absolutely.
And that closer, that's a definite old Christian hymn too. So and
Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's terrific. But hey, let's drink some whiskey. How about that?
sounds good to
All right.
me.
We're going to be drinking a couple of Kentucky bourbons tonight. One and kind of close to your neck of the woods, I think. The first we're going to try is this Bardstown Bourbon Company bottled in bond. It
Yeah,
is
about 20 minutes away.
Yep, it is a wheated bourbon. And if you're a fan of the Van Winkle Spirits, those are also wheated bourbons. So, hey, cheers, sir.
Cheers to you, and thank you for sending me these.
Absolutely. So, Bardstown Bourbon Company is by the name in Bardstown, Kentucky. They do a bunch of contract distilling. They have a lot of people that come to them and say, hey, produce this whiskey for me, and I'm going to put it in my bottle under my label. They do a lot of that, but they do some really great stuff on their own as well. And this Bardstown Bourbon Company bottled in bond is one of the first things that they released that was all of their own whiskey in the bottle. And it is, I think, 6 years old. And what do you think of it, Johnny?
I love it. It's good. I mean, I'm sure all the bourbon enthusiasts are going, it's good, really?
Uh-huh,
That's all you
uh-huh.
got to say? But
That's
it
good
has
enough.
it has smooth whatever. No, it's
Mhm.
like I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a real classic bourbon profile, I think.
Yes,
Um,
and the facility, of course, it's a beautiful facility
yeah,
when you see it. But yeah, I really enjoy that. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. Now, you obviously a bit of a whiskey drinker. Is there anything in particular that you really like that's your go-to?
Man, look at me. Do I look like I turned down anything?
Well, some people have something that they always try to keep on their shelf, or
uh,
a go-to at a bar when they're playing.
uh, you know what? I'm typically a makers and water with no
Okay,
ice. Uh, and of course, singing, you gotta, it helps clear out the pipes, so to say.
sure.
But yeah, I'm typically a makers and water with no ice, and I'm good.
Yep. Well,
I'm, I'm good.
Maker
And
Makers is pretty close to you as well. So,
yes, sir. Yeah,
yeah.
and of course you can do the Bourbon Trail. I mean, good.
Oh yeah.
Of course I'm pointing like somebody knows where I'm pointing. Uh, 65 and do the trail, but
Yeah.
we're in the heart of bourbon country, and
Yeah.
so goes back to the name.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure. No,
I
I
think
get it.
marketing, probably while we're on this Zoom, uh, but
One
no,
of the
it's
reasons, yeah. Yeah.
so. But anyway,
Yeah. So before we get too deep in the show, I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to know where they can find you guys on social media. So tell everybody where they can find you.
actually everywhere. And what you're looking at there, we've completely rebranded. You see our new logo, Van Winkle and the Spirits, and then our single, Still Out West, is on every platform. You name it, it's on there. We were featured on Outlaw Country
Hmm.
a couple weekends in a row. Um, so Still Out West is out now, and then our new single, the actual title track of the EP, Southern Song, will be available. I think we're looking at the end of July, and we're doing with all we have a with rebranding. You have a whole new like labels, T-shirts, all
Sure.
the stuff, the
Yep.
stuff that drives me insane. But luckily, I have somebody like David
Hmm.
who handles most all of that stuff. And no, Still Out West is out now, and then Southern Song will drop. We have a video for Still Out West, who was
Hmm.
done by a guy in Indonesia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, um, it's completely outside of my comfort zone. And the funny thing is, he's from Indonesia, does the video, and it's kind of like a colored drawing artwork.
Hmm.
But the girl in the video looks just like my wife, and he had no idea what my wife looked like, which is funny. Um, but no, Still Out West is part two of Heading Out West, which was on
Yeah.
our first album, and then there's going to be a trilogy.
Okay. Good. 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 Well, we'll get into all of that here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But before we do that, let's get into a little bit more of your personal music background.
Okay.
And uh, do you remember growing up with a musical family? This may be
Mhm.
a trick question, but do you remember your first concert that you went to?
Oh goodness. See, all my concerts growing up would have been, and that's kind of funny. because anytime I see a Prevost bus driving down 65,
Yeah.
that's my childhood. And the reason why I say that is my dad was always on the road. And then when he would pastor a church, all these Southern gospel quartets would come in. So
Yeah.
my thing was to get on their bus. That's all I want to do is just get on their bus.
Sure.
And I have a funny story. So I would always get on these big Prevost buses coming through. And I was just like a little snot-nosed kid, preacher's kid running around the church. Right. Should have been sitting down paying attention. So
PKs are the worst. PKs are the worst.
Yeah. Hey, I've been around some cops kids that aren't too good either.
Well,
and we've been together, and that doesn't make a good combination. Anyway, I'm at the entryway, and the quartet's getting ready to come in, and you'll get to the name in a second. So I'm standing there, and there's this tall, gangly man standing there, and I'm enamored with his gold watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just staring at it, and in this big, deep, gravelly bass voice, he was like, "You like that watch?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "You know who gave me that watch?" I was like, "No, sir." Had no idea. I was, whatever. So he took off the watch and he showed it to me and said, "To JD from the King." So it was JD Sumner.
Holy crap.
Playing bass for Elvis Presley.
Right.
And of course, I was, okay, great. I'm going to go run around somewhere and try not to get yelled at by Dad from the pulpit. Years later, my youngest was a huge Elvis fan, and he's playing old school Elvis video concerts.
Right.
He said, "Jack, do you see that guy right there?" Yeah. Said, "I have met that guy." And he could care less. He was like me. He could care less. But no, that was my childhood, man. And I can't tell you, like, they all run. That was my life.
Yeah.
I just grew up around Southern gospel music, and my highlight was getting on their buses.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Gaither gospel hour or whatever.
Yep.
It's probably not so much now, but I can go through, been on their bus, been on their bus, been on their bus, been on their bus. They've been to our house when we lived in Clebeat, not Challebeat. But yeah, that I can't tell you it was all Southern gospel. That's, like I said, I cut my teeth on a church pew. Now,
mm-hmm.
I will tell you the first concert that really, outside of gospel, would have been probably the Black Crowes. And
okay,
that's I had somebody ask me, "Why are you such a diehard Crowes fan?" I said, "Well, if you listen to them and I don't care what they say and how they act. That's just, they have taken gospel, blues, and infused it with rock and roll."
mm-hmm.
And they said, "Well, they're like more of the Stones." I'm like, "No, actually, you need to listen to the Faces, because they're more the Faces." But that was probably my first concert that really made me go, "Yeah, I can do that. I can do that." Yeah. Maybe not at that big a level, but I can do that. So,
I'm a big Crowes fan. Steve Gorman's been on our show a couple times, and he's just fantastic. And
okay, he has sat in with my band and played.
You're kidding?
No,
oh, that's awesome.
No, if you got,
I'll ask him about it.
Ask him about Van Winkle and the Spirits. He, I get goosebumps thinking about it. Well, he come in we were playing at Birdie's for Brittany. It was his niece that passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and his brother. I know them, and I mean, all they can say is no. I mean,
Right.
seriously. So we opened for Trigger Hippie,
Okay.
and we had a couple dates that we were supposed to open up, and then COVID and all that
Sure.
crap. Um, but we opened for him at Capitol. Down to earth dude. So just
Yeah, he's great.
he's kind. I love his family. His mom is a spitfire, and she's the sweetest lady. But I can't say enough good words about that family.
Mm-hmm.
But Steve took it. I mean, you know, it's not like we're selling out stadiums or even whatever. But he come in, no rehearsal, none. And we said, we would like to do these two songs. And he goes, yeah, I've played that one 1,000 times and I can just do that one.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, he set in with it. He did us a favor. And doing that, I sent him a T-shirt, and I told his brother, I said, if you could just get him to hold up that T-shirt, that would mean a lot. But yeah, it's actually funny. I don't want to get off camera too fast, but so I actually sent out a message to him. I said, why haven't I gotten you to sign this Rolling Stone issue back in the 90s when you got kicked off the tour? So that's on my next list. The next time I see him, I'll be like, here, dude, I need you to sign this, please, if you have the time. But he is a super nice guy, and he has done us a lot of favors, and like opening for Trigger Hippie, and we had 2 dates. Obviously, COVID, like I said, got canceled, but
yeah,
I got to sing with my John Bonham.
Okay.
That's the only way I can describe it. And I looked over at our bass player, and I said, "Do you ever think you'd have Steve Gorman playing drums behind us?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm just trying to keep up right now." But no, he is a great dude from a great family.
Yeah, he really is, and I think the world of him, and he's got a
Next
lot of
time
great
you
things.
talk to him, you say, "I talked to that long-haired hippie guy from Van Winkle and the Spirits.
I will
Tell you hello."
I will. I'll probably talk to him some next week. But no, that's great. All right. So Black Crowes was an influence for back
Huge,
in the day.
huge.
What else? Who else was something that you said that really played into the way that you developed the sound for Van Winkle and the Spirits?
You know what? I go. Well, here's another one. Blackberry Smoke.
Yep.
And I tell people when David or I, or the band, we write songs that people want to know the process or this process.
Yep.
My favorite songwriter outside of gospel, whatever, and it surprises a lot of people, was Ronnie Van Zant from Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
I think he was the most phenomenal songwriter, and I always get attached to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to our songs,
Mm-hmm.
it's storytelling.
Yes.
And when I listen to a song, you can have a catch or whatever, but the storytelling of a song always intrigues me. And that's when I do a song, I want to tell a story, and I want somebody to sit there in their mind and hear this story and be like, oh, but I don't know. I steal from, I'll tell you, I'll steal from anybody and everybody. Sure. But I think Ronnie Van Zant was phenomenal storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you don't like Leonard Skinner or whatever, but listen to I mean, even Simple Man. Um, just the storytelling, and you can see in your mind. And then I'm looking at my album. There's Mahalia Jackson right there,
Mm-hmm.
who can, her voice would make you feel the lowest of lows and then the highest of highs. And you just go through, I'm looking at the Black Crows or all my other albums over there, and they kind of help intertwine how I write songs.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, as I listen to you all, and I do, uh, I guess, listening notes for music, kind of the same way I
Mhm.
do tasting notes with whiskey. Just talking about the different things that you may be tasting in it. And with music, it's okay. I hear a little bit of this band or a little bit of this style,
Mhm.
and the things that I wrote down with you guys. One was Skinnerd. One was Zach Brown Band.
Okay.
Because I think the harmonies that you guys do in your music is amazing, and I don't think
Thank you.
anybody does that as well as Zach Brown Band. But Kentucky Headhunters, because it's kind of got that groove to it, and just kind of there's a bit of that Bakersfield sound in there too,
Yeah.
uh, and Tyler Childers.
Well, I'll tell you this. You can appreciate this. There are no stronger harmonies than a quartet,
Mm-hmm.
Southern gospel quartet. I'll put their harmonies, that and bluegrass.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about your Bakersfield reference is, David, we are big Dwight Yoakam fans.
Okay, there you go.
So he'll come up with a riff, and then he'll either have a melody or he'll have a lyric, and then I'll take off on it, or I have
Mm-hmm.
lyrics written and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I need something to fit this. Uh, and then the harmonies, that's uh, and thank you for that. That's like a big, huge compliment to me and us, I should say, because that is, I think, something that is phenomenal. I love listening to harmonies. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you you go and hear, I like I said, growing up in churches, I've been to the churches that have the outhouses, and you can pull up and you can hear them go through the soprano, tenor, second tenor, alto,
Mm-hmm.
bass, and do all their parts,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do it solo, and you're like, how in the world do they do that? So that's, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We love our harmonies, and we'll, anytime I can get a good harmony, and then
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, thank you.
Yeah. The thing that struck me first about your music, um, going back to the first album and the first single or the first song on the album, "Heading Out West,"
Hmm.
is how deep the instrumentation is.
Hmm.
Because it's not just a guy on an acoustic, a guy on an electric, a guy on a bass, and a guy on drums, and you go. There's guitar there, but uh, is there mandolin in there, dobro in there, lap steel,
It,
organ?
oh yeah, of course, I would have organ or keys on every song because that's how I grew up. But we had dobro, which was Jennifer Griffith, who phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal dobro player. Um, she played on it, and then the keys are Linneas Franklin, who's on our next album, our newest album.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the harmonies, we want a strong harmony
Yeah.
album.
Yeah. Well, the harmonies are like another instrument in
Yeah.
the way, at least the way I perceive that your songs are structured.
Hmm. They're a big part of our songs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, again, I don't, when I hear a song, and if I hear strong harmonies, that's going to catch my ear,
Mm-hmm.
versus a 2-minute guitar shred, which is awesome, great, but harmonies are going to catch my ear.
You have that too. You have that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, we do.
But now, so Johnny, are you playing and singing, or are you just singing?
No, the funny thing is, in the band, I'm called just the singer of songs. So I'll write the songs, or co-write, I should say, and then I'll play some harmonica,
Mm-hmm.
harp, and that's typically live. And then there's a certain group of my friends who are absolute critics, and I'll walk off stage, and they're like, "You don't need to play harp on that song anymore." And I'm like, "Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Did the vocals sound okay?" Um, but no, I'm just I do a lot of the writing or co-writing, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll play some harp. And but no, I leave that up to the real talented
Yeah.
people.
Now, David Erickson, who couldn't be with us tonight, is David your songwriting partner?
Yeah, we do a lot of the songwriting together.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dave Rich, who plays bass for us sometimes, like he'll get an idea and call. That's like the one of the next songs on the next album, Moses Coltrane. He gave me the first two lines,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just took off and just went with it. Now, on the first album, I'm trying to think. He called me, and I had that. It was just like a spark.
Mm-hmm.
I had that song done in 10 minutes, and it was just Native Son.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
he gave me two lines, and it was one of those the stars aligned and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just I got it. Just
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Just let me go. And then
Yeah.
I had that song. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging on myself or anything, but it was just one of those moments that it all fit together, and I had that done in about 10, 15 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. It's a payback song. And I love playing that song live.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more of a rocker.
Yes, it
That's for
is.
sure. There's a couple of them on that first album that are just down out rockers, but that's definitely one of them.
Well,
So,
thank you.
um, the did you do the production on that? Did you hire producers or sound
No,
engineer, or what'd you do?
the first album we did at Barrick Studio in Glasgow,
Okay.
and I keep pointing like everybody knows where I'm pointing to. Uh,
Well,
no,
Glasgow's clearly that way. Yeah, we all know.
so he had done Kentucky Headhunters.
Hmm.
He had a he has a great ear for sound, and he kind of takes care of Kentucky boys
Hmm.
and gal, I should say. And we went there and did it, and he that's where we did our first one. And but it was at Barrick Studio in Glasgow.
Well, it's a beautiful sounding album. It
Well,
really is.
thank you.
Everything about it is. It's very. It's not. It's not easy listening, but it's very easy to listen to.
Well,
And
thank you.
I guess there aren't sharp edges on it. Okay, there's
Okay.
there's there's nothing to it that um, is a is offensive in the slightest. It
No,
all it
no.
all just fits together so well, and to make that all work with as much instrumentation as you guys have, and all the harmonies that you have, and just quite frankly, there's some complex song structure here too. To pull all that off for your first album, uh, uh, tip of the cap.
Well,
Really well
thank
done.
you. I always say I am blessed enough to be around a lot of talented people.
Mhm.
And they make my life and job easier when it comes to um, whether it's performing or writing a song and
Mhm.
structuring a song. They they kind of lead and guide and direct just the singer songs.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm fortunate enough to be around a lot of talented people.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely had a talented group when you're making that record. So,
Well, thank you very much.
hey, let's drink some more whiskey, and then we'll talk some specifics on these on this album and the new song too.
Okay.
Still Out West. Our second pour is this Yellowstone Toasted Barrel. Yellowstone is a brand of Limestone Branch Distillery over in Lebanon, Kentucky, which I don't think is too far from you either.
No, sir.
So this is a single barrel that I guess I've had this about a year maybe, and it's I've done some damage to it, but it's got a ways to go. This really good stuff. It's their whiskey that they secondarily age in a toasted barrel for a period of time, and Steve Beam is the master distiller there. So cheers again, Johnny. Very good. 100 coming in at 100 proof.
It's coming in hot.
Yeah, this has some baking spices to it that kind of stand out. It's not a lot. Calling whiskey smooth is kind of, it feels like I don't know, an easy way out to describe something. This is, and a lot of times that is, well, it's kind of weak. This is not weak at all. And
No,
I would
no.
not call it smooth either, but that's not meant to be a disparaging comment. It's
No.
just got some pepper and some spice to it. It kind of wakes you up a little bit.
Or as I would say, it has a little kick.
It has a little kick. It does have a little kick, but it also has some nice vanilla notes, a little bit of toffee in there too. So it kind of mellows out as it sits a while. But they're doing some great things there at Limestone Branch. They've just added in a big tasting room, and always have some good product coming from Steve Beam and Stephen Fonte down there. So be sure to check them out. So let's talk about the first album, because I think the first album, it kind of, you referenced a trilogy, and that the Still Out West is kind of a continuation of the first album. So
Yes,
let's start talking about the first album a little bit.
Okay.
And it seems like there's a lot of themes around. There's some nostalgic feel to it. But there's also a little restlessness and searching and trying to figure things out. And
Yes.
is that where the whole heading out west idea came from? Is heading out west to find what I'm looking for?
Yeah, and if you listen to the lyrics, he heads out west to try to search and find himself.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to get away and to search and find himself, just like you said, and that's where that story came in. And so it was. I love doing that song. Typically, we change up our set list so much, but I love opening with that song because we open it with 3-part harmony, acoustic, or actually a cappella, and then it goes into back to the acoustic.
Yeah.
But I love doing that song. I think the crowd really, if they're like mingling or whatever, but once they hear the a cappella, Take Me Away, Lonesome Train, and we drag out Train, and it's 3-part harmony, and most people aren't there. They don't normally hear that, I guess I should say.
Right.
And then you lull them back in with the whole bass line, do 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 do. And I love doing that song. I love the story of that song. But yeah, it's a guy trying to heading out west to find himself, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he ends up staying.
Yeah.
And
Well, and he's still out west, as we'll talk about in a minute. But
yes, sir.
that song is just fantastic in every respect.
Well, thank you.
Honestly, when uh, I don't remember where I ran across how I ran across your music to begin with, but when I first started
I'm
listening,
glad you did.
I'm glad I did too, because I've had a lot of fun with this. But when I started, it it took me 4 or 5 plays through that song before I got to the next one,
Oh, thank you.
because it's just so rich and there's so much to it. And there's so many layers to it, and you can listen to it from a musical standpoint. You can kind of get lost in that uh, dobro. You can get lost in that in the guitar parts. You can get lost in the harmonies and the lyrics, and there's just a lot of great stuff going on, and you can't just get everything out of that song in just one playthrough.
And I think a lot of that, not I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No, 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 good.
but a lot of that is we want when we do a song, we want everybody to get lost. Like, you
Hmm.
just get mesmerized by there's times when I'm either on stage or whatever, I'll get lost in a song and somebody will look at me like, dude, you were supposed to come in like 2 bars ago. And I'm going, shh, that's a compliment to you. But yeah, it is. Again, it goes back to the musicians I play with. But yeah, it's layered and again goes back to the storytelling of a
Yep.
song and paint pictures in people's minds and uh, it's not okay. Uh, One of my favorite Stone Temple Pilot songs is Interstate Love Song.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that you can get in a car and you hit play and you roll your windows down. And we're not Stone Temple Pilots. That's not what I'm saying. I
Hmm.
always wanted to write a song that you could hit play and roll your windows down and then just relax and ease your mind and
Hmm.
play that again.
Hmm.
So that's what I wanted to happen with that song.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's certainly elements of that there. Different style than Stone Temple Pilots in many respects, but it accomplishes the same thing,
Well,
because I
thank
feel the same way about that song. It's probably my favorite song by them, and
you. Yes.
it's a bit of a departure in their sound, frankly, but it it's just one of those things that it it has a rhythm to it. You're right. It's a great driving song, and I really enjoy that. But I
Well,
think
thank you very much.
there are elements of that in heading out west too.
Well, thank you.
So I'd say
Thank
mission accomplished. Little Riches is the second track on that album, and that seems to be about valuing the simple things and that make life better.
Yes, that was actually written by our bass player Dave Rich, and he'd written it for his wife and his kids. But it's the again valuing the you know like chasing fireflies at night,
Hmm.
and it's the little things when you have someone you love or a family, and it's valuing the little things. That's a fun song to do uh, live because the harmony again going back to harmonies.
Yep.
But Dave Rich actually wrote that song, and
Very cool.
actually a lot of people in the band love doing that song because it's the bass. When you listen to the bass line, it just kind of puts you in a certain moment, and then you listen
Hmm.
to the lyrics, and it's great.
Yeah. Then Native Son, you mentioned that earlier. That is a great rocker song.
That's a monster. That's
Yeah.
one that I'll be honest, if it's later on in the set list, it might get pushed later on down the set list because vocally that is a very hard song to do after you've been playing for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big Chris Cornell fan too.
Mm-hmm.
And in the studio, I tried to. I'm not Chris Cornell, not even comparing. But I was. What would he do? What would he do on this song? And
Right.
but it's. I call it the monster, because when we have our set list pulled up, and we're going through. Let's say we're at song. If it's a 15 set list song and it's like number 13, I look at somebody, I'm like, no, we're gonna have to skip that and do Little Feet Willin'. It's a lot easier. So it's a monster, but it's I'm looking forward to doing that one July 5th at Beaver Dam Amphitheater. The monster's gonna have to be unleashed. So
all right, so yeah, let's talk. It's a good segue. Let's talk about July.
I did that on purpose. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, here we are. So tell us about the show on July 5th. Independence Day weekend. What do we have going on here?
All right, so I've never played with the Jukes before. I'm looking forward to playing with them. I've listened to some of their stuff. Now that band Trip right there, they're triplets, and they played with us at the Battle of the Bands at Beaver Dam last year.
Yeah,
phenomenal. Like I played at the Opry, and you can tell that they've played together for years. And then we're headlining, and we'll have Kyle Daniel, who played on our last EP that's coming out. And we're excited, that Beaver Dam, they're just good people. They treat us well. And actually went there 2 weekends ago to see Blackberry Smoke and the Scarecrows, who actually played at the Battle of the Bands too. And but we're looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So July 5th at the amphitheater at Beaver Dam. Gates are at 5, shows at 6, free admission. I mean, come on, what else do you want?
Yeah, and you're not just getting snakes and sparklers, as Joe Dirt would say at the end. You're getting the fireworks
show after the concerts.
Yeah, so not just snakes and sparklers.
Yeah, I may have to make my way down to Beaver Dam, Kentucky on July 5th.
Have you ever been there?
I have not, so I've got to go. This is a good reason to go.
Funny, when you pull in, you think you are pulling in, and you're pulling into a T-ball Little League park. Because I thought I was lost. And you look to the right, and then there's this, amphitheater where, you have Tyler Childers has played, Blackberry Smoke has played, all these big bands have played, and you go back there, and it's awesome. And you have, I don't know if they'll have it that day, but tables set up near the stage. You got the grass back in the grass area. It's a awesome place, and they are very kind.
Very good. Yeah. So this I think I know what my 4th of July weekend plans are.
Well, please be sure to come say hi.
Oh, you can count on it. Absolutely. We've got some stuff to talk about. So Waiting in the Rain.
Yes.
Now, are we getting more dobro on that, or are we getting steel guitar on that? What's going on?
Dobro.
Yeah,
dobro.
It's just gorgeous.
Again, Jennifer Griffith is phenomenal.
Now, does she play with you live?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
She's a mama, and she's busy. But when we can steal her and if I can call her and talk her into something, I will get her. She is phenomenal. That song is harmony heavy, which
Mm-hmm.
again, that goes back to what I love. And she was, let's see, she was touring at 18 years old, and she's been doing it for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it was awesome to have her come in there and play. And that song I wrote about my wife. And I had been sitting on that one for quite some time. And then Donnie Alvey, who played on that album, he had this melody, and it kept. A lot of those songs were done in studio. Uh, we just, it wasn't a Nashville budget, I'll tell you that. That's why we could do them in studio.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
I understand.
he had this melody, and it just kept going over. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got something that goes with that. And it just, that's a crowd favorite. That's probably our best streamed one off that first album.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it for my wife, and harmony heavy,
Yeah.
and it's I love doing that song. And typically we close on that song because you can get the crowd. The chorus is really crowd friendly. They pick up on it, and they start singing it, and it's a good one to close on because it's a fan favorite.
Yeah. Now the next song off that album that I want to talk about, it's probably my second favorite off the album after Heading Out West, and that's Leaving Home. And I love the way it starts kind of small and quiet, and then it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And there's just this amazing. You guys do a lot of outro guitar solos where you're ending the song on a guitar solo, and I love that. I think there's not enough of that, but you guys do a great job with it. And
Thank you.
but this song just it starts, like I said, it seems to start kind of small and just builds in layers and builds in dynamic. And I'm thinking, okay, this song's got to be just amazing live.
It is now I will tell you this, that phenomenal guitar solo in that song is Kyle Daniel. And he come in the studio, and the background vocals, I wanted this song to build and build and build. And then Kyle come in, and he knew the sound that I wanted. That we wanted. But I told him, I said, dude, just do what you do. There's no boundaries here. You're like, I'm not going to, I'm just going to, you just go. And he, man, he took it home, and then we bring it to, as I say, take it to church at the end. And I love that song, and I love how it turned out, because it's just like you said, it starts off small, but you end up taking them home.
Yeah.
And it's I love doing that song.
Yeah.
The only thing about that song is sometimes if it's deep in the set list, I've got to save my voice, and I can't take them to church like I want to at the end, like it's on the album. And they're typically looking at me, and I'm going, wind it up. Let's go.
You just need more whiskey. That's all. That's the answer. That's the answer to everything. Because either it will allow your voice to do what you want it to do, or you won't care that it doesn't.
Yeah. But I'll either look at them and be like, I got this, or it's like, wind it up. Let's go.
Dinosaur. I feel like I can kind of relate to that, but talk about what Dinosaur's about.
All right, so that's a Hank Williams Jr. song.
Yeah.
funny story about that is that was our own take on a Hank Williams Jr. song. Phenomenal songwriter, phenomenal storyteller. Uh, to be honest, probably one of the best live performances I have ever seen.
Really?
And the reason why I say, I'll get back to Dinosaur. The reason why I say that is we were at Bridgestone Arena, and he goes out there and he's got his band. He's one of the most talented musicians ever, and I will argue anybody to that point. But the coolest thing is he had Bridgestone Arena, and he wasn't even headlining. He was right before Leonard Skinner. And he got out there with a guitar, sitting on a stool, and he had the whole arena captivated. And at one point during the show, you're not going to believe this, but I promise you this. He always wears a strap. He doesn't put it over his head. He puts it right here. So he finished playing. He grabs that guitar and he throws it 4 feet from the guitar stand, and it lands perfectly in the guitar stand. And I said, that is one of the greatest showmen I have ever seen. So
he's done this once or twice. He's done it once or twice.
He's done her quite a few times. So we did our take on Dinosaur. And again, we take it home at the end and we have fun with it. we had a guy who he took our album and he put it on his playlist and was so kind, and he did all this stuff, and he texted us and he said, I'm gonna be honest, I love your album, love it. He said, don't ever do a Hank Jr. song ever again. Hank Jr. is Hank Jr. and you can't do Hank Jr. So I said, you got it, sir.
I liked your take on it. And,
thank you very much. Thank you. We had fun. We had fun with that one. It was fun to do a Hank Jr. song because he is the showman of all showmen. And I'll put him up against anybody to this day. So
the first album ends with an old Christian hymn, Farther Along.
Oh yeah.
And your roots really shine through on that one.
That was us around a condenser mic, and I wanted to do something kind of going back to my roots. And it's kind of easy when you play who I play with. And we just got around there. We did 3-part harmony, and it was kind of like my childhood, and we just had fun. And I've done that song so many times for so many years, but I still was not happy with how it turned out, and that's just me. And when you hear the next album, it's kind of like a pattern that we're going to do. It might not be a gospel hymn. I'd love to do a whole gospel hymn album. But it's harmonies. It's whether it's keys or it's the true nature of what I love, harmonies, and whether it could be storytelling or it's a hymn, but it's your true colors. You can't hide behind a big blast guitar solo and drums and all that. It's you got to do your job.
Yeah. And you could have picked any old hymn to put on the album, but this really fit to me as far as the message of the song is about. Farther down the road, we'll understand, we'll know what the meaning is, and that just fits with the theme that goes throughout the album of searching for answers and searching for meaning and who I am and how I fit in to the big picture. So it's to me it's a very perfect way to close that album.
Well, thank you very much. if Jen, like typically when we play live and Jen's playing with us, I always give her a time to, and I'll just look at her. I'm like, just take them to church. Just take them to church, and she'll do a segue. Like we'll go from whether it's Amazing Grace, she'll do a line and a verse of Amazing Grace on Dobro, which it'll make you cry. It'll make you cry. And I always try to tell people if it's Saturday, I'm like, y'all still got to go to church tomorrow just because you heard this song. But no, we all like I turn her loose when she plays with us, and she, of course, she plays in church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Her and David play together, and but yeah,
very cool.
She's phenomenal. So
very cool. So now we come to the new song.
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
You missed one.
I wasn't trying to hit all of them, but yeah, if I missed something you want to talk about, let's do it. Oh yeah. Well, okay. I had it on the list, and I thought, okay, I'm taking up too much of your time. But
no. Shine. So, did you figure out what Shine is about? Because only 2 people I have ever met figured out this song.
It sounds like it's a ballad about a coffin maker.
You're on the right track. Yeah.
Okay, so take me the rest of the way.
All right, if you listen to the song, not to turn into a dark, morbid story, but there was a guy in Edmonton County, my neck of the woods, that made dog houses. His name was Shine.
Okay.
So we took it. He's a coffin maker, but not to go down morbid hill or whatever, but he's also a serial killer, and that's where he gets his business to make coffins.
Oh, well,
there's the story.
Oh, okay, that brings a whole new angle to it. So I'll go back and listen to that.
So now, when you listen to it,
that element,
listen to it, because there's two people that really always want us to play that song. I'm like, no, nobody wants to hear that song. But yeah, that song was fun. That song was fun to write. We just took it down a deep, dark hill, and 2 people want to hear it live, and it never gets played live.
Well, I have a friend who's a big murder ballad fan, so I'll make sure that I tell her about this. So
yes,
that'll
see if don't tell her.
Yeah,
see if she can figure out the story, because he has to do his, killing to supplement his coffin making business.
I like it. Well, I like the idea, as far as the song goes, I'm not endorsing being a serial killer.
No,
let's just make that very clear.
Saying, now once you hear the song, you're like, oh, now I get it. Now
Okay. All right. So that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Very cool. All right. So still out west. So we're 5 years later. So and I see this with a lot of bands that I talk to. They may have done released something in 2019, 2020, and then there's kind of a gap there. That's kind of that COVID gap. Is that what led to the 5-year hiatus, or is there other stuff involved?
No, we wanted to come out, and everybody says a sophomore slump, or you're something.
Tell that to the Black Crowes.
So no, their sophomore album is my favorite album all time.
Yes.
So we didn't want to come out prematurely and do something just to do something.
Sure.
And we have no label. We're doing this on our own, but it was also a cohesive. This is like, we want to come out with great songs, and we tried to do it with our first album. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where you hit, I always say I want to do an album. You hit play and walk away.
Right. We call that no skips, no misses.
Thank you.
You don't skip a song. Because
Right.
there's nothing missed on any track. Yep.
So that was our main thing, and we had so many songs to choose from, and we whittled it down, and then it was to the point where I reached out to a lot of studios in Nashville, and we finally thought we had everything whittled down, and we got Jason Gromlich from Brothers Osborne, Kyle Daniels, CC Ellis, Linnaeus, who's on the first album. Linnaeus, he's like, he does everything, but he played keys, drums, and harmonies. He's like a Swiss Army knife. A dear friend of mine, Valerie Cross, she did background vocals, and we were like, you know what, we're going to go big. And so we went to Welcome to 1979 in Nashville. We were going to do a full album. I reached out to a lot of studios. The vibe at Welcome to 1979 fit us. You know, some of the studios, they were in the budget or whatever, but Welcome to 1979, they fit our vibe. They just they you know, I mean, look at me. I'm welcome to, you know, if you look at the place, and they've had everybody from Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, Jason Isbell, Chris Stapleton, Lady Gaga. I mean, and the owner, Chris Mara, him and his wife own it. He kept reaching back, and it just became a great relationship. And then I said, hey, I noticed that Blackberry Smoke did their Stones cover album at Welcome to 1979. He said, oh yeah, which is
live to track, right? If I remember that correctly. Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things to do, because you can't, you know, you can't mess up.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, well, is Jeremy Bernstein available, who produced and engineered Blackberry Smoke's album? And he said, yes, he is. So we were blessed enough. We had Jeremy Bernstein, who did Blackberry Smoke, produced and engineered. We were at Welcome to 1979, and I was, the good Lord blessed me enough. I had all these talented musicians. I had basically from Jeremy Bernstein to CC Ellis to Jason Gromlich, who's with Brothers Osborne, Kyle Dane. Like, I had all these people. Like, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And then Shannon McCombs, who's been covering musicians from the 80s, and you know, she come down and filmed and for us, and she said, the last time she goes, I know what I'm doing. I was like, I know, Shannon, I know you know what you're doing, because she's always on the red carpet or whatever. She goes, but the last time I was in the studio, I was filming for Carrie Underwood. And I go, well, you are really dumbing yourself down if you're coming to film me. She dodged 2 tornadoes into Nashville to film us. And so it was a great experience. The first single, Still Out West. Jason Gromlich from Brothers Osborne, he goes, we were just tinkering around with the song, and he goes, I hear spaghetti Western. And there's, you know, if you got 10 people in a room, there's probably like 2 people that know what spaghetti Western music is. And you have to explain it. It's every Clint Eastwood Western or Quentin Tarantino or Western.
Right.
And he's like, what do you think? I said, dude, you had me at spaghetti Western. Let's go.
Yeah.
Phenomenal guitar player, phenomenal musician. And to go back to the first one, Heading Out West, he's out there, still out west, leaves the girl behind. He finds a new love.
Mm-hmm.
Stays out there, falls in love with new girl, and sneak peek, the trilogy, which I haven't thought about perspective, but when he comes home, he sees original girl with his new family, and she realizes the life that she could have had. So, but yeah, that's where Still Out West comes from.
Yeah, and it's the correlation or the carryover from heading out west is obvious, but the sound on that song, it's very different, I think.
This everything has changed with this album, and it I don't want to sound like cliche, musicians say,
Mm-hmm.
well, you evolve. Well, it is true. You evolve.
Sure you do.
You change. Uh, and the songwriting changes. But then again, not going through the whole list, but the people we had in there, excuse me, like it is a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And you have to step up, which is what kind of took us so long. Is we wanted the right songs, and this one is go big or go home, and we felt like we went big. I'm excited for Southern Song to come out. That's the title track. It's a feel good sing along song doing live. And growing up in the South, being raised to just be kind. I wrote it during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of songwriting done during that time. But it's just being kind and, the whole Southern hospitality thing.
Sure.
I wanted to write a song that featured, sometimes just being kind will get you a lot of places. Like I tell my boys, what do I need to hear when I used to take them places? Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, please, and thank you. I'm like, that's it ain't hard, buddy. It ain't hard.
Those were the conversations we had wherever, okay, you're going with some friends to the zoo. Okay, what do you say? And they, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, and thank you. All right,
Yes.
you got it. Don't forget it when you get out of the car.
That's right. And I said, did you enjoy yourself? Well, did you say the things? Because they'll invite you back if you say those things.
Yeah.
But no, it's I'm excited for Southern Song to come out, and it was going to be the first song released, but we decided to. Still Out West is just a different song. Like it's just different. It's got that different sound, and people have really tuned into it and like it because you can't pigeonhole it.
Right.
Some people have said it's like almost like a Charlie Crockett song or whatever, but you can't pigeonhole it. But the musicians on it are phenomenal.
Yeah. And the EP will be out when?
Well, we're looking to release Southern Song at the end of July, and then we're doing a big crowdfunding thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all the things that I talked about that thank goodness I have it, David. At the end of July, when Southern Song comes out, that's when we're going to release everything. So end of July, 1st of August.
Okay.
And, but yeah, we'll be on blast on everything for crowdfunding and, and I know you've seen bands that tier it where you have everything from, I just want to buy the digital download, or you got your old schoolers that want a CD, something tangible.
Right.
And we're doing vinyl on this one, which is kind of exciting.
Yep.
I've always wanted something vinyl because I grew up listening to vinyl.
Right.
So we're doing vinyl. Yeah, and it's exciting. So to answer your question, end of July, 1st of August, everything will
Okay.
be just going, go.
Well,
So
when we get to the end of July, 1st of August, why don't we get you back on and get David on with you, and we can talk about the whole new EP in its entirety, and uh, where you're touring and your crowdfunding and all that good stuff. And I would love if you guys would do that.
absolutely. You just tell me. You just tell me when, and maybe send another one of those. So
Yeah, that'll be heading your way. That's for sure. Um,
David yelled at me. He thought I took his. I was like, no, kidding, just kidding.
oh man. All right. So tell everybody again where they can find you guys on social media.
Everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. David always jokes live that we're on MySpace. I'm like, dude, 5 people know what you're talking about. But yeah, we're everywhere. We're on every digital download platform. Still Out West is we just it surpassed, I don't know, this past week it's kind of really taken off for some strange reason. You never know. David has all the algorithms and all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
but it's really taken off. But yeah, we're everywhere. Just check
Good.
us out, and
Yep.
it's we're Americana. I want to say, and people are like, "What's Americana?" I'm like, well, here's how I explain it. You take gospel, blues, bluegrass, country, rock, and I might be missing one, and you put it in a blender.
A little folk music in there too.
Little
Yeah.
folk,
Mhm.
yes, little folk, blended, and out comes Americana. And then when you come see it at a show, it's like you'd mentioned Native Son being the rocker hard song. Like you'll hear that, but then you'll hear Heading Out West, or we do a couple of covers that we love to do, from Little Feet Willin' to, we just try to take people on a journey
Yeah.
that's what we do. We our live shows, I always like to say, are our bread and butter.
Yeah.
We just want people to have fun and enjoy good music, and that's what we try to play and write.
Yeah. And live show July 5th.
Oh,
Friday,
July
July
5th.
5th. Beaver
Yes.
Dam.
Free.
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 Yes. Kiddos, bring them babies out. Let them hear some good music and see some fireworks.
Yeah, this looks like a really good time. So yeah, I'll be talking with the wife about making this trip for Independence Day weekend.
Well, and you haven't been there, so I
Yes.
don't want to build it up too much, but I think you're really going to enjoy this place.
Well, there aren't many places that I don't enjoy live music.
Hey, this place is a great live venue to see some good live music, and I'm excited to play with the Jukes and Trip. And it's a free concert I mean, I don't know what more you would want. July,
I don't know.
Free show,
yeah,
good music, and
they probably got food there too, right? They got to have food. Yeah, there'll be food.
Yeah. Yes, they got. I mean,
merch. You got to have some. You'll have some merch there, right? So people can buy T-shirts and
we'll
CDs
have
and
merch there.
hats.
You'll see the merch tent, and it's ribeye sandwiches. Hello.
Oh well, okay.
Barbecue.
Now I'm sold. Yeah, now I'm sold.
It'll be a great time.
Yeah. So check out Van Winkle and the Spirits. Follow them on social media so you don't miss out on anything. And of course, as news comes out, we will be sharing it on our social media platforms as well, especially their music. And for our show, again, you can watch us on YouTube and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform as long as it's Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows, including this one when it comes out. And we have a Facebook group where we will post what we're listening to on, I mean, just the other night I was posting, hey, I'm listening to some Van Winkle and the Spirits, and I think I was drinking some Deer Hammer hickory smoked corn whiskey that night. So I'll post what
Hey,
I'm
you're
listening
plugging
to,
us,
post what
man.
I'm drinking.
Hey, if you're
And
plugging us, thank you so much.
absolutely am. And because it is a good music, just really good music.
Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you.
And yeah, honestly, I I don't I don't have people on here that I don't think I can just rave about what they do, because that'd be really awkward. But you guys are great. Love what you're doing. Excited about the new music that's coming out. And Johnny, can't thank you enough for your time tonight to talk all about it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me
Yep.
and talk about all things us. And you tell Steve Gorman I'm still wanting to open up for Trigger Hippie or whoever 2
Yep.
more shows,
Hey,
please.
have you heard his new band, Bagman? They're awesome.
Yes,
They're
yes.
awesome.
But you have to tell him I was inquiring.
Uh,
But he's good. But tell him I said hello.
I will absolutely. So on behalf of Johnny and the whole gang with Van Winkle and the Spirits and myself, until next time, cheers,
Cheers.
love, and free bird.
Y'all have a great night and thank you for
Good
tuning in.
night.
See you, my friend.